AI, and the only thing we're going to change is the voice of the defendant that is pleading their case. They used a voice that is speaking standard American English, which is the English that I'm speaking now. Sometimes I have an accent, sometimes people say I don't, I'm not sure. But standard American English, kind of how I'm speaking to you now. Then they used a second voice that spoke in African American vernacular English. Now, in the instances that the AI heard the voice that spoke standard American English, it was much more likely that the defendant got a not guilty verdict from the AI. It was much more likely that the defendant didn't get the death penalty. So on the other side of that, if the voice was speaking in African American vernacular English, it was much more likely to get the death penalty and be convicted as being guilty. Nothing else has changed other than the voice. And so what I'm sharing with you all today is just to be really mindful about how you think about and use AI, both at institutional levels, but also in your personal lives. Now, some of the things that you can do, and the reason I asked how many of you actually have AI on your apps or your phone, or you use it on a day-to-day basis, is to think about protecting your own data. You know, right now, all of these apps do offer you a way to opt out of sharing your data with large tech companies or companies with which you might not be aligned. So that is something that you can do. Would also say be mindful of which AI tools that you are using and what those intentions of those companies are. There are companies that make AI tools. One of them is called Anthropic, that makes a chatbot that is similar to ChatGPT, that has much more rigorous bias and safety principles than companies like ChatGPT or Google or Meta. Also be mindful of like what AI is being used by your institution, right? And for this institution, and demand to know if AI is being used in decisions about acceptance and the admissions and things like that. And then finally, I would point to women of color, Black women who are leading the way around AI ethics, Joy Bulamwini and Timnit Gebru. So if you want to learn more about AI and AI ethics, I would point you in their direction. And then finally, if folks are interested in having an AI ethics course on campus so people can be aware of their rights and also how to use AI, I think there's lots of benefits of AI, but how do you use it in a mindful way? You can come talk to me afterwards and I'd be happy to talk about what would that mean to stand up an AI ethics course on campus. So thank you all for listening. Mahalo.
Next, we have Cindy Franklin, student and faculty of Justice in Palestine.
Aloha kako. Thank you to the organizers. My name is Cynthia Franklin. As a settler ally, I am honored to address you from John Weiss Lawn, a site that holds a rich history of decolonial organizing. I have been a professor in the English department for the past 30 years, and I speak to you as a proud member of Students and Faculty for Justice in Palestine at UH. I started this group in 2013 after returning from a faculty seminar where we visited 8 universities in occupied Palestine. I love that our SFJP, which is part of a national network, is distinguished by students, staff, and faculty working all together. For the past 12 years, we have been bringing Palestinian visitors to UH. One of our central aims has been to build Apelila from occupied Hawaii to occupied Palestine. I'm teaching a graduate seminar right now on love, letters, and politics, and I've been thinking a lot about their interconnections. Although not written as a love letter, my words today are just that. What I say comes out of my love for my students and my comrades from Hawaii to Palestine. With the establishment of Israel as a Jewish state in 1948, called by Palestinians the Nakba, or catastrophe, over 750,000 Palestinians were expelled from their land. The Israeli state has worked ever since to subjugate Palestinians and expand its borders from the Jordan River to the Mediterranean Sea as a Zionist or settler state for Jews only, through apartheid, ethnic cleansing, the longest military occupation in U.S. history, in modern history, not U.S. history. And for the past 18 months, a genocide that is being live streamed before our eyes. This has made Palestine one of the great moral issues of our time. Today, Palestine is also at the very center of our fight for higher education. I want to talk to you today about why this is so. As we wage a fight for the very survival of our university, for all universities under the boot of the Trump administration, we will not win unless we also fight for a free Palestine. Why do I say this? Because Palestine is at the very epicenter of the convergences of the fascism, white supremacy, capitalism, and settler colonialism that at sickening speed are devastating higher education. As history teaches us, the destruction of free speech and critical thinking are necessary to denying people their most basic rights. We've seen this under chattel slavery, and we've seen this under fascist regimes. Israel well understands that education is a precondition for freedom. That is why, long before Hamas came into power in 1987, Israel has targeted Palestinian educational institutions. Since 1948, the Zionist entity has bombed Palestinian universities, destroyed libraries, burned archives, and denied students their right to education. In the face of this ongoing colonial violence, Palestinians have continued to assert their right to education. A people with one of the highest literacy rates and per capita PhDs in the world, Palestinians have never stopped writing their histories and passing on their narratives. As the great Palestinian poet and beloved professor Rafat al-Arir proclaimed just days before Israel assassinated him in December 2020, "If I must die, let it be a tale." Al-Arir first wrote these lines from besieged Gaza in 2011, and he gave his life to mentoring generations of students so they could write back to their colonizers. Although Gaza has been under siege and an air, sea, and land blockade since 2007, in the past 18 months, things have worsened exponentially. Made possible by full partnership with the U.S. government, Israel has moved into an explicit campaign of genocide. Funded last year by $17.9 billion U.S. tax dollars, Israel dropped the equivalent of over 5 Hiroshima-sized nuclear bombs on Gaza, which is about the size of Detroit. For Hawaii residents, these tax dollars could instead have canceled debt for 1,620 students. Instead, they have financed the killing by the very most conservative estimate of 50,000 people. This U.S.-Israeli genocide includes and indeed requires scholasticide, the systematic destruction of Palestinian education. Israel has destroyed every university in Gaza. Israel has assassinated hundreds of professors and murdered thousands of students. The Israeli state has also laid siege to Palestinian universities on the West Bank, and not for the first time. When I was in Israel and in Palestine in 2018, teaching at Al-Quds University, the military invaded, tear gassed, and opened fire on us as punishment for the university's support for a general strike, and we had to be evacuated by the Red Crescent Society. They have also passed the 2011 Nakba law. This law authorizes Israel's Minister of Finance to withdraw state funds from any institution that commemorates the Nakba or denies the existence of Israel as, quote, a Jewish and democratic state. If this repression sounds familiar, it is because we are now seeing corollaries to the Nakba law in the U.S., with the Trump administration defunding universities on grounds of anti-Semitism that is defined as being anti-Israel. To sustain Israel as a Jewish supremacist or Zionist state, Israel depends on the U.S. for ideological as well as financial support. This requires quelling criticism of Israel, and it is accomplished in the name of fighting anti-Semitism. This weaponization of anti-Semitism does not protect against anti-Semitism. It is anti-Semitism, insofar as it reduces Jewishness to supporting an ethno-state. The support for Zionism is the tip of the spear in Trump's attack on universities. Universities are perhaps the most important site in the U.S. for fostering free speech and critical thinking. This means there is no greater threat to Trump's fascist and white supremacist agenda than universities. As Trump and his henchmen take their chainsaw to higher education, the first to go down in their frenzied assault are those standing for Palestine, especially Arab and Muslim students and faculty. They are being kidnapped, disappeared, and threatened with deportation for exercising their rights to free speech and academic freedom. This is happening in belligerent disregard for the rule of law. Secretary of State Marco Rubio justified his orders to deport Mahmoud Khalil by writing that Khalil's participation in protests at Columbia University were disruptive and, quote, foster a hostile environment for Jewish students. ICE agents in face masks and hoodies kidnapped Rumeza Ozturk, a PhD student at Tufts University, off the street for writing an op-ed critical of the Israeli government. Earlier this week, on the basis of his nonviolent participation in 2024 protests, Mohsen Mahdawi, a green card holder and a Palestinian undergraduate at Columbia, was detained by ICE for being a threat to foreign policy interests when he showed up for a scheduled citizenship test. It bears noting that all of these brave and inspiring students have insisted on a world in which all people, Jews and Palestinians included, can live in peace and democracy. When university administrators fail, as they regularly do, to protect their students, Khalil and Mahdawi repeatedly ask Columbia administrators for help. And when they participate in or capitulate to baseless charges of anti-Semitism, the Trump University defunds those universities anyway. Why? Because make no mistake, and let Columbia be a lesson to UH. This is part of their larger plan to destroy universities as we know them. What Steven Salaita fired in 2014 for his Palestine advocacy has called the Palestine exception to academic freedom and free speech is not new, and it is bipartisan. During the Biden presidency, students peacefully participating in the 2024 encampments experienced police brutality, arrests, suspension, expulsion, and vigilante on violence that went unchecked. One of the few executive orders that Biden did not overturn when he took office in 2021 was Trump's endorsement of the IRA, or International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance definition of anti-Semitism. 7 of the IRA's 11 examples equate criticism of Israel with anti-Semitism. Trump's embrace of the IRA is now serving his broader authoritarian agenda. It is part and parcel of his attack on universities. Often aided by university administrators, we are seeing the weaponization of anti-Semitism being used to defund universities, fire faculty members, including Mauro Finkelstein, a tenured Jewish professor, and now abduct and deport students. This horribly anti-Semitic deployment of anti-Semitism, what has been named MAGA's pro-Israel anti-Semitism, is compatible with fascism and neo-Nazism. Think here of Zionist Elon Musk and Steve Bannon, who as part of the white nationalist Trump regime throw up Nazi salutes. Along with many thousands of other Jews, I say that what Israel is doing is not in my name. As a Jew, I also say this attack on so-called anti-Semitism is anti-Semitic as well as white supremacist. I take no pleasure in predicting that should Trump's power continue unchecked, the Jews supporting his weaponization of anti-Semitism will find themselves under attack as well. And I know that those of us standing for a free Palestine, our SFJP included, will be among the first to contest this anti-Semitism. What was once the Palestine exception is with increasing speed no longer the exception. The Trump administration is coming for us all. As we rise up, we must do so alongside our Palestinian kin, who have much to teach us from their decades spent fighting more deadly versions of the repression we are now seeing across our college campuses. I want to end my remarks today by reading from a powerful statement, one I also read as a love letter, issued by the Union of Faculty and Staff at Birzeit University in occupied Palestine. Our friends there inspire us to stand together as union members, as workers, as students, as educators, as human beings. Noting that, quote, the forced chaos of fascism has created a siege that extends to university campuses across the globe, they stand firm in the belief that, quote, universities can and should be a site of resistance. They, quote, call upon all people of conscience to fight with us and to confirm that our fight is a collective fight for humanity and justice. It has never been more true than now. All freedom-speaking people of the world, all voices of righteous humanity, and all of us who covet knowledge and pursuit of freedom are in this together. No one is free until Palestine is free. Our Palestinian kin in their struggle, which is also part of our struggle for our university and for a free Palestine. As SFJP members Kawila Mahi and Ihilani Lastonia put this in their song, Kai'aina to Palestine, from olive tree to olive tree, we stand in solidarity. Ku'ana Kapaya. Thank you.
Hey, yo! All right, we have Yasmin Che from the Hawaii State of Commissions on Status of Women.
Hello. It's wonderful to be here today on this Day of Action for Higher Education. My name is Yasmin Cheney. I'm the Executive Director for the Hawaii State Commission on the Status of Women. As I think about our current Gilead prequel moment in history, with federal administrative efforts to dissuade and disrupt gender equity policies, to reduce or eliminate funding for survivor advocacy, reproductive health, universities, scientific research, and gender-based violence prevention education, multiple incidents of student intimidation, ignoring the rights of due process, and the persistent promotion of regressive gender roles, we are witnessing a new strategic attempt at cultural revolution with Trump 2.0. These policy changes, and authoritarian shifts in government chafe against the very core of my being. In a nutshell, I am a person committed to the very best of this country's pluralistic ideals: freedom, equality, opportunity, and inclusion. As Executive Director for the State's Commission on the Status of Women, I am responsible for messaging out on the opportunities, needs, problems, and contributions of women in Hawaii. I engage in statewide efforts towards equality between the sexes, and I support education and professional opportunities for girls and women. From my vantage point, one of the goals of attacking universities is to dismantle the primary vehicle that women have to societal participation, personal growth, and professional development. A quote from a former Columbia University president sums up the crucial role universities play in the United States. The true purpose of education is to prepare young men and women for effective citizenship in a free form of government. It is this mechanism of female empowerment that is under attack. This administration would prefer women were quiet, subservient, uninformed, and dependent upon the men in their lives. If access to reproductive health and abortion is reduced or eliminated, and supports for women at universities and in the workplace are removed, it will enable the cultural shift sought by this administration, which is leadership and decision-making authority shifting back to men, preferably white men, and diminished educational and professional opportunities for women. Well, that's too big of a pill for me to swallow. And thank goodness we are here in Hawaii, where gender identity and expression are protected classes, and we have state laws and university policies that prohibit discrimination and allow for reproductive choices and health care. Across the state and the university system, there is a continued commitment to the very DEI principles that have been targeted for dismantling. And I have seen firsthand individual and organizational efforts from both top down and the ground up to hold the line in our commitment to the rule of law and push back on executive branch overreach. There have been planned protests, calls for action like today, and coordinated activities between our state's leaders, individual citizens, and various local organizations or chapters to file lawsuits, strengthen protections, increase state funding, and mobilize to meet this moment and protect our way of life. This year, a significant portion of my time has been spent collaborating with UH's commission and the county committees on the status of women, coalition building with the Hawaii Women's Coalition and the State Civil Rights Coalition, and testifying at the Capitol. This session, I have supported measures to improve safety and well-being for girls and women, for the development of statewide paid family and medical leave program, and to remove sexual offenders from settings and positions of power in which they can reoffend. Lastly, I regularly update the Commission's website, and it now has additional information about your rights here in Hawaii, and information about upcoming awareness and prevention months. You'll find information about local events and resources regarding Sexual Assault Awareness Month, as April is Sam. On Oahu, there's a Denim Day event recognizing the month and in support of survivors in our local sex assault center at the Black and Shamrock on Wednesday, April 30th from 5 to 7. There is also a toolkit and reference guide posted for families of missing Indigenous women and what to do in the first 72 hours, as May 5th is the National Day of Awareness for Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women. 2025 has been difficult to weather. In order to set myself up for success, to continue to show up for my colleagues and my family, and to move the Commission's mandate forward, I've had to be intentional and strategic with my choices. Every day, I have to balance my desire to keep moving the work forward with the reality that my body and mind need some amount of healthy work-life balance. What has worked for me is the practice of healthy sleeping, eating, and exercise habits. I engage in therapy as needed, and I give myself grace and compassion. I seek out joy and spend time with friends and family that are kind and supportive of me. I delegate tasks as needed, and I stay in my lane. I connect colleagues to pertinent resources when folks need help beyond what I can give, and I believe this moment requires courage, kindness, and respect. So I try to model the behaviors that are necessary for a safe, civilized, and inclusive society. I've talked about what others have been doing and what I have been doing to meet this moment. I'd like to close with some action items you can take yourself. I sincerely believe that our best chance at being successful in protecting our democratic principles is through continued solidarity. We must continue to speak out in defense of academic freedom, free speech, civil rights, and the rule of law, with as many voices and stakeholders as possible, and be vocal about the important value to our community that higher education represents. We are the solution. If COVID has taught me anything, it's that we're all interconnected and interdependent, and it is through our collective action that we will be successful in protecting our way of life and our shared values of equality, freedom, choice, and progress. If I was you, I would join or renew your participation in whatever campus club or community organizational effort like the ACLU that resonates the most with you, and make your opinions known. You can write an op-ed for the Star Advertiser or Civil Beat. You can submit testimony or attend an upcoming meeting of the state or UH's Commission on the Status of Women, or any of the county committees on the status of women. Links are on the State Commission's website. You can organize to lobby your state or federal legislative representatives. You can build coalitions with other local colleges like Chaminade and Hawaii Pacific University, and you can submit testimony, attend a meeting, or mobilize via UH's student government, ASUH. You can assemble a list of local lawyers who can assist faculty who have lost appropriated funding or are being threatened by federal actions for their teaching and research. The Coalition for Action in Higher Ed website has a number of resources and toolkits to assist you in living your best advocacy life. If you are looking for ways to engage in feminist activities, consider practicing microfeminism, which are small but meaningful acts of uplifting women and promoting their voices within your personal or professional surroundings. Research has shown that everyday instances of sexism affect women at all levels, including in matters of physical and mental health. Acts of microfeminism may mitigate some of those effects. My favorite microfeminist practice is to recognize and thank every woman who assists me over the course of my day, intentionally being present in my interactions with them, giving them my undivided attention, and letting them know how their assistance has positively impacted me and helped me move forwards, often making sure their boss is CC'd on the communication so they can receive recognition for their efforts. As you work to thrive and survive in this current moment, please know that you are not alone. Many of us are working to ensure actions that are taken in our name without our consent are unwelcome, and we will not stand silently while we are told how to behave and our seat at the table is taken away. Whatever you choose to do, within reason and in consideration of your current capacity, please choose one action to meet this moment and hold the line. Take care of yourself during this stressful time. Utilize resources on campus or in the community as needed, and choose your actions with an understanding that this is a marathon, not a sprint. We have only just started experiencing this administration's efforts. Extend yourself grace as you try to manage all of your responsibilities and commitments. And if no one has told you today, you are worthy of love, respect, and safety. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And for our last panelist is Liza Ryan Gill from the Hawaii Coalition for Immigration Rights.
Aloha mai kako. My name is Liza. I have the privilege of being the Executive Director and Chief Organizer for the Hawaii Coalition for Immigrant Rights. We are an advocacy organization representing about 30 immigrant and migrant serving organizations across the Pai'aina. And we stand on the shoulders of many great organizers and advocates who have come before us. One that has done so much work here on the University of Hawaii, Dr. Amafil Agbayani, and many others. I saw Professor Sharma, I saw Professor Halaga out there who have done incredible work, and many of our representatives that we work hand in hand with, Representative Caruso and Representative Bellotti, that have helped us in our efforts to pass pro-immigrant legislation at our Capitol. So what does the Hawaii Coalition for Immigrant Rights do? We advocate for federal, state, and local policy on behalf of the 18% of our state that is foreign-born. Hawaii has one of the highest populations of foreign-born people of any state in the United States. And those folks are predominantly, they are half from the Philippines and then from China and Japan and many others across the Pacific Islands. We're very highly representative. And yet, those individuals, especially for the city and county in Honolulu, we rank 95th out of 100 on our integration and support for immigrants of any major city in the United States. And this is an issue that we have been advocating for the last 5 years. But what I wanted to talk about today is to give you a snapshot of what does Department of Homeland Security look like in Hawaii at this moment in time, not 3 months into the Trump administration. And what I can say is, oftentimes we are thankful and we say, you know, like, thank God we live in Hawaii. We're far away from DC, but I can tell you that this federal administration is here. They are on our islands, they are taking children, they are removing them from their families, they are taking parents away from their loved ones, they are taking husbands from their wives, they are taking wives from their husbands, they are taking children from their aunties, and it is happening every day. We are lucky to represent many organizations across the state, and one of which on Hawaii Island, and I don't want to put them on blast because unfortunately we have word that tomorrow we're going to get an executive order from the White House that will criminalize some of our work. So we are prepared now to go dark. And that is not to say that we will not speak out, but that you may hear less from us. Because we have been told that we are going to be stripped of our tax-exempt status, that they are going to send attorneys after us and say that we are effectively supporting terrorism. So I don't know what the executive order looks like that's going to come tomorrow, but I know that we have the people here in Hawaii that are going to continue to support us, that are going to stand up for the immigrants and migrants in this state, that will make sure that when children are standing in front of an ICE judge, that they do not have to stand alone, that they have an attorney with them, that they are not asked to plead for their life and their future in a language that they do not understand without an adult present. This is not something that we have to stand for. Right now, we had many bills that were moving through the legislature. Unfortunately, as many of us have seen, and as many of us have seen in these university contexts, this federal administration is not shy about using whatever leverage and reprisal and fear of reprisal it can against each and every one of us. And the same goes for our attempts to support immigrants in this state. We say, if we do this, then we will take this from you. Nice looking little Medicaid you have right there. Shame if something happened to it. Because if we stand up for the people in our state, every resident of Hawaii, they're going to push back. And as I have told our staff and the folks that we organize, we are in the pot, but the water ain't even hot yet. Things are going to get worse. They may get very much worse tomorrow. We're ready. We are ready to do this. Because every child that has fled someplace because they were afraid to be killed, because they wanted a future, because they deserved to live in peace and to be with their family, we will fight for that child. We will fight for their future. And that it is Hawaii's aloha spirit that says that above all we believe in ohana. We are not going to leave our brothers and sisters out there. That there is no illegal person on stolen land. I can tell you that based on ICE's own data, that their statements that they are going to pick up just convicted criminals is untrue. As of a week ago, the data showed that in detention there are half of the folks that have been detained since this new administration do not have any criminal convictions. Their only crime is trying to find a way forward and to protect their families. I can tell you that we are now operating an illegal prison in another country where you cannot return from. As the Justice Minister of El Salvador has said, the only way that you leave the Soquet, the prison that we are now putting Venezuelans and El Salvadoreños and potentially American citizens in, the only way you get out of that prison is in a coffin. And so right now, as we are fighting for Kilmar Abrego Garcia, who is illegally and unlawfully and mistakenly detained and is being held in a foreign prison, our country says, we're doing our best to get him back, wink, nod. And El Salvador says, don't worry, we got your back. We won't return him either. So where do we go? Where do we go from here? I think many of you know student visas are being revoked across this country, that the administration is holding the visas of international students over Harvard's head, saying, shame, 25% of your student population is international. Maybe you should agree to our terms. Maybe you won't get those visas. We're going to continue, and what I heard from these panels again and again was the weaponization of our immigration system. Do this or we'll deport you. Do this or we are going to separate your family. Do this or you can't get tenure. Do this or you cannot finish your education. I don't know how we're going to fight this. There is very little that we can do at the state level, very little that we can do to fight the Department of Homeland Security and these new and the State Department in revoking these visas. I can say we have legislators, we have council members that are ready and willing and call me and say, what can we do? How can we move forward? So the willingness is there, but we need better ideas. We need to be faster and smarter than this administration to get ahead of them. And we need to not normalize the fact that we are sending people without due process to a foreign prison that they can never be released from. I want to encourage you because I am the chief organizer, and I was reminded last night by an amazing woman, Colette Pichon Battle, organizing in the South and post-recovery, post-Katrina, that we got to get comfortable organizing, guys. It's not enough for, people often say, what can I do? What's the individual action that I can do? What I need you to do is stop thinking in I. Is start thinking in we. What will we do? Who will be my we? Each one of you is important, but I need each one of you to bring 100. I need us to come back here in 6 weeks and you brought 5 friends. I need us to come back here in 12 weeks and you brought 50 friends. Because this will not be solved by just the people who are on this field. Each one of us needs to bring more into the movement. We need to have more conversations. We need to have more coffees. We need to get more beers after class and talk to folks and say, come with us. There is space for you in this movement. And lastly, I want to call out the incredible work